You ever get that feeling like you hit some big financial goal, something you've been working towards forever, and instead of feeling like a total excitement, it's more like, wait, is this it?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to deep dive into today.
Okay.
You sent this in 7 reasons you don't feel rich when you actually are.
Right.
And it's got me thinking, I got to unpack this because feeling rich and, actually being rich, those are two totally different things.
Yeah, it's almost like there's this weird disconnect between our bank accounts and like what's going on in our brains.
Yeah.
And the article starts with this idea of the horizon effect, and it's like surprisingly common.
Okay.
Like you finally hit that financial goal, and then all of a sudden the finish line for what rich means, just it moves even further away.
Oh, totally. It's like you're chasing a financial rainbow.
Yeah.
There's that thing, too, right? The more money you make, the more you realize you need.
Exactly.
But this article actually puts like hard numbers on this feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah, they cite a Schwab survey. I think it was Schwab.
Okay.
And it found that people think they need something like an average of $2.2 million to actually feel wealthy.
Wow, that's
Yeah, it's a lot.
a lot of money.
But here's the crazy thing. They found that even people with $1 million or more
Oh, wow.
in assets were still reporting feeling financially insecure. So, like, clearly hitting some magic number doesn't just automatically make you feel better.
Okay, so that's both kind of validating,
Yeah.
but also a little bit depressive.
A little bit, yeah.
So, like, what do we do about it? How do we stop chasing this, like, always moving definition of rich?
Well, the article gives a couple interesting tactics, and the first one is just to forget about whatever society says, forget about, like, what your neighbors are doing, and define what rich actually means to you.
Okay.
What does a life without that, like, financial stress actually look like in your day-to-day life?
I see what you mean. So it's like less about the actual number and
Right.
more about like how you want to feel.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then to make that even more concrete, the article talks about something called a future lifestyle analysis. And it's basically where you get down to like the nitty-gritty, like what are the actual elements of your ideal life?
Okay.
Do you want to travel twice a year? Do you want to own a vacation home? Do you want to retire early? Actually figure out like how much those things are going to cost.
Oh, I see. So it's like budgeting, but for your dream life.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of rich just being this vague idea, you're actually attaching it to these tangible goals.
Exactly. It makes it much more real.
Okay.
And then one last thing the article says, which I really liked, is instead of constantly looking at what you haven't achieved yet, spend some time thinking about how far you've already come. Like 5 years ago, were you in a better or worse financial position?
Oh, that's such a good point. It's like a total perspective shift.
Right.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in that, like, I need more mentality.
Totally.
But when you actually take stock of, like, how far you've come, that can really help.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about this whole, like, horizon effect thing.
Yeah.
But even when we are, like, on the right track with our goals, there's this other thing that can really mess us up.
Oh, yeah.
It's called lifestyle creep.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever noticed how, like, as you start to earn more money, your spending just kind of, like, magically expands to match it?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so gradual, right? It's like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden that like daily takeout coffee doesn't even feel like a splurge anymore. It just feels like part of the routine.
Totally. Or, like, you upgrade your phone plan just because you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it.
Right.
And the thing is, those seemingly small increases in spending can really sabotage even a good income.
Oh, for sure.
The article really emphasizes that it's not just about how much money you make. It's about the difference between your income and your expenses.
There was this one line in the article that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
It was something like, a person making $60,000 a year who saves $20,000 is going to feel a lot richer than someone who makes $200,000 but spends it all.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Right.
Yeah, it really changes your perspective on what it means to be like well off.
Totally.
It's not about chasing the biggest paycheck. It's about actually creating that buffer zone, that safety net.
Yeah.
Even if you're not making a ton of money.
So it's like building that financial cushion, even if you're not like, swimming in cash yet.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this horizon effect.
Right.
We've got lifestyle creep.
Mhm.
And then there's this other thing that the article talks about, this idea of being cash poor, asset rich.
Wow.
So like you could have a really high net worth, on paper, but if it's all tied up in things that you can't easily access,
yeah.
then it doesn't really feel like you're wealthy in your everyday life.
Totally.
So for people like me who are not exactly financial experts,
Totally.
can you break down like what's the difference between these liquid and illiquid assets?
Yeah, so think of it this way. Liquid assets are basically just your readily available cash. It's the money you've got in your checking account, maybe some stocks that you could easily sell your emergency fund. You need it. You've got it.
Okay.
Illiquid assets are more like frozen funds. It could be your house, a retirement account that you can't touch yet. Certain types of investments, they have value, but turning them into actual cash that you can spend
Right.
takes time and effort.
So even if someone is technically a millionaire, on paper because of their house or their investments,
Yeah,
they might still feel like they're struggling financially if they don't have much liquid cash.
exactly. It's like a weird paradox.
Yeah.
And the article really highlights like how important it is to have a balance. Like you want to have that 3 to 6 months worth of expenses readily available just in case, for peace of mind,
Right.
even if you have a lot of wealth tied up in other places.
So it's like you're thinking about both the long term and the short term. Exactly.
You want security for the future,
Yeah.
but you also need that flexibility in the present.
Yeah, you want to make sure your money is working for you in all the ways.
Okay, so we've tackled this whole horizon effect thing, sneaky lifestyle creep, the illusion of being asset rich but cash poor.
Uh-huh.
What else is stopping us from actually feeling as financially free as we could be? Well, one of the big things is, and I think we all struggle with this whole social comparison game.
Yeah.
It can be tough.
Yeah, it can be so tough, especially in the age of social media.
Oh my gosh, it's like everyone's just showing off their best selves, 24/7,
Yeah.
vacations, new car, fancy dinners.
Right.
It's easy to feel like you're falling behind when you're constantly being hit with all this effortless wealth.
Yeah, it's totally the curated life.
Yeah.
But, this article makes a good point, which is like, we're not seeing the full picture.
Right.
Behind those perfect Instagram photos. There could be a ton of debt stress and a whole bunch of financial juggling that we just don't see.
Oh, totally. And comparing ourselves to other people, especially based on, their online persona, that's a recipe for disaster.
Oh, yeah, you're going to feel bad.
It's like comparing your bloopers to someone else's finished movie.
Exactly.
You're never going to feel good enough.
Yeah, and this article also points out that even where you live can make a huge difference in how you perceive wealth.
Oh, for sure.
Like a six-figure salary might feel like you've made it in some parts of the country, but in a big city with a crazy cost of living.
Yeah, it could feel like you're barely scraping by.
Totally.
Like 100 grand in rural Iowa is going to give you a way different lifestyle than 100 grand in Manhattan.
So different.
Huge difference.
So how do we escape this comparison track, especially when we're surrounded by these messages of more, more, more all the time?
Well, I think the good place to start is, like we were talking about earlier, is defining what rich actually means to you. Like what brings you that sense of security and fulfillment.
Yeah.
Is it travel? Is it having more time with your family? Is it being able to pursue some passion project you've always wanted to do? Those are the things you should be focused on, not, whatever someone else thinks is worthy of posting on Instagram.
Right. So set your own goals.
Exactly.
Don't compare yourself to others.
And the article had another good tip, which is celebrate your own wins, big or small.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Are you better off financially now than you were a few years ago? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's progress.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to just curate your social media feeds a little more carefully.
Yeah.
If certain accounts are always making you feel bad or envious,
Oh, yeah.
hit that unfollow button.
Sure.
Okay.
Create a digital space that actually makes you feel good.
Exactly.
Okay. But even beyond social media, I think it's easy to get caught up in fixating on just the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Our income, our net worth as the only measure of wealth.
Yeah. And that's where we can miss the bigger picture.
Yeah.
True wealth is so much more than just those financial metrics.
Okay.
It's about having the freedom to make choices that are in line with what you really care about.
Yeah.
Whether that's, spending more time with your family, being creative, or giving back to your community.
It's about having the resources, financial and otherwise, to create a life that feels rich with meaning.
Exactly. It's about feeling secure and empowered and in control of your time and your resources. And that's why I think the article is really pushing this idea of cultivating an abundance mindset,
Okay.
focusing on what we do have rather than what we don't.
So shifting from scarcity to gratitude.
Yeah.
I know that can sound kind of like a self-help thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I've noticed that when I actually stop and think about all the things I'm grateful for, my health, my loved ones, even a good cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
It really does shift my perspective.
Yeah, it's subtle but powerful.
Yeah.
It can change how we see wealth regardless of how much money we actually have.
Right, because if you're grateful for what you have,
Yeah.
you're not always chasing more.
Exactly. And then you can start appreciating all the richness in your life right
Yeah,
now.
so it's not just about accumulating wealth, it's about appreciating the wealth we already have.
Yeah, in all its forms.
So we've talked about defining our own version of rich,
Right.
navigating this whole social comparison thing,
Uh-huh.
cultivating gratitude.
Yeah.
What else can we actually do to close that gap between, our bank account and how we actually feel about our finances?
Well, I think a good place to start, and this might sound a little basic,
Okay.
but it's to create a budget that actually reflects what you care about.
Okay. So not just like a spreadsheet of doom and gloom.
Exactly, yeah, not just like a little bit of restrictions,
Yeah.
but like a tool that helps you spend your money on the things that really matter to you.
Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but how do we actually make that happen?
Well, the article actually lays out a bunch of like really practical strategies to help with that, to make sure that how we feel about our money matches up with what's actually going on.
Okay, lay it on me. What are some of the key takeaways?
I think a good place to start, and this might sound a little boring, is to create a budget.
A budget. Okay, I know that's not exactly the most exciting topic.
I know, I know. But it doesn't have to be like a punishment.
Okay,
It's not about depriving yourself. It's about being intentional with your money.
so how do we make budgeting less painful?
Well, the article suggests that we start by figuring out what our core values are. Like what are the things that really matter to us, the things that bring us joy and meaning.
Okay, so things like family time travel, giving back to the community.
Exactly. Once you know what your values are, you can start making sure that your spending reflects those values.
I see. So it's like giving yourself permission to spend on the things that are important to you
Yeah.
and maybe cutting back in areas that don't really align with your priorities.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe you decide to pack your lunch a few times a week so you can afford to go on that vacation you've been dreaming of.
Right, or maybe you cancel that expensive gym membership and use the money to support a local charity.
Exactly. It's about being mindful and making sure that your spending is actually supporting the life you want to live.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those of us who are already pretty good at budgeting but still feel like something's missing?
Well, in that case, the article has another piece of advice that I really love, and it's to invest in experiences rather than just stuff.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right, because studies have shown that experiences actually bring us more lasting happiness than material possessions.
Yeah, it's true. Like, think about it, that new phone might make you happy for a little while.
Yeah,
But the memories of a trip with your friends or learning a new skill, those things stay with you forever.
exactly. It's about filling your life with those moments that make you feel truly alive.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy expensive either.
No, not at all.
Right, it could be trying a new restaurant, going to a concert, taking a hike in nature.
Exactly. It's about those simple things that bring you joy.
Okay, so budget wisely, invest in experiences, anything else.
Yeah, this one might sound a little cheesy, but the article really emphasizes the importance of gratitude.
Gratitude. Okay, I'm listening.
I know it might sound a little woo-boo,
Yeah.
but when you focus on the things you're grateful for, it really can shift your perspective.
Okay, in what way?
Well, it helps you move away from that feeling of scarcity and towards a feeling of abundance.
Okay.
You start to appreciate what you have instead of constantly wanting more.
Yeah, I can see how that would make a difference.
Right. And when you feel more content, you're less likely to overspend or make impulsive purchases.
So how do we actually practice gratitude, besides just telling ourselves to be more grateful?
Well, there are a lot of simple things you can do, like keeping a gratitude journal where you write down a few things you're thankful for every day.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Or you can just take a few minutes each morning to really appreciate the little things, like a warm shower, a cup of coffee, the sunshine.
Uh-huh.
Even just saying thank you to the people in your life can make a big difference.
So it's about making gratitude a regular part of your routine.
Exactly. And, another thing that can really help you feel more financially secure is to take control of your finances.
Yeah, feeling like you're in the driver's seat.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to do that is to set clear financial goals.
So not just like, I want to save more money,
Right.
but something specific like, I want to save $10,000 for a down payment on a house.
Exactly. Having a concrete goal in mind can really motivate you and help you make smarter decisions about your money.
Yeah, and when you start hitting those goals, you feel even more in control.
It's a positive feedback loop.
Okay, so we've got gratitude, we've got setting clear goals. What if we still feel stuck?
Well, in that case, the article has one last piece of advice, which is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Okay, so like calling in a financial advisor.
It could be something like that, or it could be something as simple as talking to a friend or family member who's good with money.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe joining an online community or reading some books on personal finance. The point is you don't have to figure this all out on your own.
Right, we all need help sometimes.
Exactly. And remember, building a sense of financial well-being, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's about making those conscious choices, developing good habits, and staying true to your values.
And sometimes it's about asking for a helping hand along the way. So, big takeaways from our deep dive on feeling versus being rich. Define what rich means to you, practice gratitude, be intentional with your money, invest in experiences, set clear goals, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
And most importantly, remember that true wealth is about way more than just your bank balance.
Right. It's about living a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling on your own terms.
Exactly.
Well, that's it for our deep dive this week. Thanks for joining
Yeah,
us.
thanks for listening.
And remember, true wealth is within reach for everyone. It's not about chasing some external standard. It's about creating a life that reflects what you truly value.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep creating that rich life.